I like the image, good image, but what you're experiencing is exactly what happens in our camera sensor. Our camera sensor looks at the image and it says, oh, well, we're going to expose for the foreground and that's going to blow out the sky. So that's what happens, not the fault of the photographer. You can use like a neutral density graduated filter, but honestly, it's better just do it right here. All right, let's take a look. What would we do first? I usually fix the most egregious thing first, but before I do anything, let me go over here and see. So this is a raw image. So I can choose a better starting place for my image. And generally, especially for landscape or travel or anything else, almost everything except for portrait, I'm switching to Adobe Landscape. The Adobe Color, which is the default kind of interpretation of your raw image, is kind of plays it safe and it's just kind of Adobe Landscape usually looks much better. Now, I'm going to choose it. It's probably not going to do much of anything, but let's take a look. Oh, that's better. Look, you can actually see some definition in the sky now. Look. And then here's Adobe Landscape. So that's step one. Yeah, that actually did all right. Okay, next is the thing that's bothering me the most is the sky, of course. So there's an easy fix. We're going to go over here and click on the masking icon here in Lightroom. And we're going to go, big surprise, select sky. All right, the red tint shows you what Lightroom selected, which is the sky. And then we're going to do two things. We're going to lower the exposure and then lower the highlights and look at the detail. So that was there, right? It's there. We're not adding a fake sky. That's the sky that was there, but I usually try to just balance it out with the rest of the image. Like, I don't want to make it too dark or something crazy. I want to kind of just balance it out with the rest of the image. And that doesn't look too bad at all. And I think that we're done there. All right, let's click back on the regular icon and go back to our basic. Let's hit the auto button just as a starting place. And this doesn't look terrible. It might be a tad dark. Let's add a little contrast because it looks a little flat. And so it looks pretty good up here, but back here it looks a little hazy. So let's drop down here to dehaze, which is, by the way, dehaze is an underplayed slider in Lightroom because it's just another form of contrast, right? So you have contrast and then you have dehaze, which is, I guess, super contrast. Is a more powerful version of contrast, but I use it a lot in my just regular editing now. So let's go ahead and hit dehaze a little and see. Oh yeah, look what it did for those mountains in the back. I'm going to do that and then maybe brighten it up a little bit. All right, just brighten the whole thing up a little bit. Oh, we're starting to get there. All right, it's looking pretty good. Actually, it is looking pretty good. Let's make sure we set our whites and blacks properly. Hold the shift key and click on the word whites. Hold the shift key and click on the word blacks. Oh, we're looking good. It looks a little brightish to me, so I'm going to pull it down just a little bit because under that sky, it shouldn't be that bright. The foreground does look a little bright, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the masking tool. I'm going to create a new mask, and the one I'm going to choose is linear gradient. This is the one I go to when I want to darken a larger area. Like that whole foreground looks like it could be a little darker. But with the gradient, it's going to go from dark to lighter dark to clear. So I'm going to hit gradient. I'm going to darken the exposure, and then I'm going to drag here. Where I start clicking, it's dark, and then see how it gradually goes to clear? Now, I went too far, but that's the way this tool works. You just kind of guess, and then you go back and say, no, I guessed wrong. Maybe something. I'm just trying to get a balanced look for the image, right? So maybe a half a stop. So here, I'll turn off you can see the difference. See how bright it was? Right? There we go. I think this is looking pretty decent. Let's look at our color. Let's see if maybe we need to add a little bit of warmth to it. Let's drag a little to the, oh yeah, a little bit of warmth would be nice. Now, if you drag over here and the mountains are looking good, but then the sky starts to lose its blue, you can always go back and go to the sky one right down here, mask number 1, and just add a little blue into that. There we go. That's easy enough. So just in case. All right. Lastly, well, actually two things. I think I might go to the effects down here and add a little darkening around the outside edges, just a little bit, maybe to -11, my favorite number. All right, and look at the difference that made right here. Watch. Here's before and after. See how it kind of focuses your attention towards the middle of the frame? I love that. All right. And you hardly even notice it's there, but until you turn it off. Now, here's what we're going to do for our finishing touch. We, and by that I mean you and me, are going to go back to the masking tool. We're going to say create a new mask. We are going to choose the brush. What? We're going to choose the brush. We're going to get a medium size. Let me make the brush a little larger. I'm going to use the bracket keys on my keyboard, and I'm going to hit the exposure pretty hard, maybe 2 stops. And I'm going to click in various spots where I want light hits to happen. Now, I do this way too bright to start off, and then I go back and fix it later. So I'm just trying to add visual interest by adding little hits of light in different places. Now, this is way over the top. I know that, but it's going to get better, I hope. Then we go and we dial in a better number for these because that's a lot of light. All right. Maybe somewhere in there, maybe about half a stop. But watch the difference that makes. Let me just show you. Watch. See, now we know it's there, right? But this is very, very popular in landscape photography to add these little light hits. Now, if I was being more careful, I would try to put them only where the highlights exist and stuff like that. But actually, it doesn't look too bad. All right, let's look at see if we can see a side-by-side before and after. So there's our before image. So, I mean, we didn't add anything to it that wasn't already captured by the sensor, right? The sensor captured everything that's there. We didn't add something that wasn't, well, we added little light hits, I guess you could say. That's a little tricky. But anyway, outside of that, here, let me make it a little bigger for you. There we go. I just hid the side panels by pressing Shift and the Tab key. And by the way, to see this before and after, you press the letter Y on your keyboard. But that's a pretty good start.